Correct.
Hey, it's Jeff Hyman with Startup Therapist, where we focus on the people part of startups. We're here with Joe Flanagan, the CEO of Acquirent. Hey, Joe.
Hey, good morning, Jeff. How are you?
It's great to see you. I see you're right on the middle of the sales floor, which is great because we're talking about sales today, and specifically about recruiting rockstar salespeople. So I think I've got the right guy. You run a sales outsourcing company, consistently named on the Inc. 5000 list. I know you're pretty modest about it, and you're based where? In Evanston, Illinois, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Great.
Just outside of Chicago.
So before we get into sales and recruiting sales rock stars, tell us just 60 seconds on sales outsourcing. What is that as a model?
Jeff, it's a great question. It really has evolved substantially in the last 10 years. We have, the business is used to be, much of sales used to be in front of people face to face and going and getting on planes, trains, and automobiles in order to sell. A lot of what's happened in the last 10 years with the evolution of technology and things like Skype, tools like Skype, and the cost of so much technology being pretty inexpensive, people have had to go find ways to sell their tools online or over the phone. And so that's really has made the explosion in this business because it's just become the tools are so inexpensive.
So it's an inside sales model where your team becomes my outsourced sales organization. Is that effectively the model?
Correct. It's an independent contractor relationship, so we represent you. To our clients, it is a seamless, we have their emails, their voicemails, people that we're calling on would not have any idea they weren't speaking to one of our clients directly.
I understand. And the last question on the model, these folks stay on your payroll, not mine. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And again, in our particular situation, folks have healthcare, disability, life, 401k. So it's a very complete. It's a very complete employment package, and it's a career that people are pursuing in the area of sales.
So let's get into hiring rockstar sales reps, which is, arguably one of the hardest types of people to hire because they're such good talkers in the interview process. We've all been there. So what have you learned you've been at this, probably 10 years or so, right? What have you learned about hiring rockstar sales reps? What are the key things you're looking for?
Well, it's a great question. Really, it's two questions. What do we look for? We look for people that have had past successes in their life, whether that is, people that have taken some risk or have taken some leadership roles in their life. And you can see that whether that's in school or in work or in other activities, right? You can look at whether they were, a leader in their sorority or in their fraternity, or they were in the theater or in the band or had athletic accomplishments and people that were prepared to take risks. And then what our process tries to do is to bring them kind of a very long and detailed process where we leverage assessments, which are a very important part of our hiring. And again, they're not perfect, but they're really good kind of barometer of it's another way to look at a candidate. So if you have kind of something that doesn't feel right, you can dig into some of those. So it's a process. But Jeff, to answer the second part of your question, is we look for 5 characteristics that we think are mission critical to being great.
I'm going to get my pen. I'm going to get my pen and write these down. Okay, go ahead.
Jeff, I have spoken all over the country on the issue of sales, and I always start with this question. It's a test, and the test is we think there's 5 great attributes, and there's an order and sequence of them to being a great salesperson. What would you, if you had to guess, what's the most important attribute to being a great salesperson?
You're putting me on the spot. I'm going to guess tenacity, the ability to run through brick walls and objections in the face of no's.
Absolutely, that's a part of it. But we think, and again, there's a lot of subsections like tenacity. The most important attribute to being a great salesperson is positive attitude.
That makes sense.
And the ability to use that attitude on a day-to-day, hour-to-hour basis.
Yep.
And really for 2 reasons. One, because that's what people buy. They really engage with people that they like.
Yep.
right? And I can give you countless examples of whether you're talking about somebody that's a server at a restaurant, or where they're trying to get you to engage in the food of the day.
All else, what I tell people is, and tell me if you agree, Joe. All else being equal, people buy from people they like. All else not being equal, people still buy from people they like.
Right, no question about it. And sales is an emotional game, so making that emotional connectivity, but also not only admitting, but having that internal positivity, knowing that the next time you're going to be engaged in a sales opportunity, you're going to get it done.
Yeah.
And that's that attitude, that can-do attitude, is mission critical.
Got it.
The second thing critical in sales is the ability to ask good questions. And third, the willingness to shut up and listen.
Right. So that's not show up and throw up, but actually being a consultant and listening to the answers and leading the prospect to the clear answer that your product or service is the way to go.
Right. I mean, it's a mutual discovery in a sales situation, and certainly, I was guilty of the, show up and throw up early in my career, and I had some great training that allowed me to reflect on the importance of asking strategic, thoughtful questions, as you said, and then waiting for the answer, and then letting that information drive the conversation when it comes to sales. And I'm not talking about, hey, how's your family, or things like that.
Right, not small talk. Right.
Right. It's questions about their business that would be germane to how your product. And then the fourth thing is knowing how your product and service fits into their business, and then the fifth thing we think is grit, and that's kind of a term that a lot of people talk about. But
by grit, what do you mean by grit? Just pure tenacity.
Pure tenacity, but really the ability to continue to rev up for the next opportunity, because in sales, most of the great salespeople, I mean, if they're hitting 30, 40% of your closes,
right,
you're a rock star. But
right.
So you got to be able to deal with that constant feedback and negativity, and budget's tight, and all those things that are that salespeople deal with, and have it just roll off your back.
If I'm
the next one is going to get it done.
If I'm interviewing sales candidates and they have experience, am I looking at their numbers? Am I asking to see their paycheck stubs? Do I want to see that they've been in President's Club consistently? In your experience, do those things matter? Are they predictive of success at your company?
Yes, they really are. And but you have to also reflect the fact that every sales cycle is different, right? That's not all those sales skills are transferable, right? What I do in here, what our folks do in here in an inside sales company, and where we pick up the phone and make outbound calls, is a very different sales thing if I've got to fly to California and sit in front of a boardroom and make a pitch.
So it has to be a comparable sales process to say that that those exact things line up. If it's a different type of sales process, you need more flexibility in what you're looking for. It might be tougher to interview that person.
Correct, but I'm not saying that they can't. It's in a career they can all work together. Sure. But just those past experiences, I think, are what we look for. Again, it's what we do. We need a lot of battery, a lot of toughness, and that grit that's so important.
So you hire the sales rep. When do you know you've made a mistake? A question that people ask me all the time. Entrepreneurs ask, how long do I give a sales rep before I realize I've got the wrong guy or gal and I should swap them out?
Jeff, we don't have enough time for this answer, but I've got a PhD in this answer. But again, it's a very difficult question. I mean, the thing that salespeople have got to do is there's got to be activity, right? There's got to be action. There's got to be activity in a constructive, productive manner. And then, if they, and then you have to assume that they can intellectually understand the product. But if there's no activity, you're dead in the water.
That's a non-starter. So that's an easy thing to figure out. Let's say that they're making more calls than everybody on the sales team,
right.
But the numbers aren't there. At what point do I say I got the wrong person?
Well, a lot of it comes down to good, proper management, and we've got a team of managers that are engaged on a day-to-day, hour-to-hour basis with our folks, and so it's their job. It's management's job to make sure that they've got the training and the tools to be successful. And so I'm not going to be able to give you it's 3 weeks or it's something, but it's when you've got the proper effort, when you've got the proper management support, and where you say this isn't working, this particular person doesn't have the tools. Now, oftentimes too, Jeff, in the area of technology and innovation, sometimes the products aren't ready for the market.
Yeah, right.
I mean, we presented those companies where the products they're not ready for prime time.
Right.
So we beat ourselves up, and it's not necessarily the sales team's fault.
The product market fit is not quite there.
Right, and that market research is also hopefully effective for our clients as well.
You mentioned tools, and one of the key tools these days, of course, is CRM, Customer Relationship Management. Salesforce.com is the leader.
I've heard of.
What are your thoughts on CRM? Can it be taken too far? Is it a vital instrument? How much do you rely on it? Your thoughts?
It's absolutely mission critical.
So I cannot build a sales team, even if it's one guy, without putting a CRM, at least a basic CRM system in place.
I would say if you're going to build a company, Jeff, you need to do it with information. And again, the thing that for CRM, for me, is I can't remember anything anymore.
Yeah, right.
I'm 50 and I can't remember anything.
You and me both.
You'll get there someday. But so the ability to build a process and the follow-up and the discipline and the execution is all mission critical.
Right.
Now, the second thing is that what you're able to do is aggregate data.
Right.
And you're able to look at sales funnels and pipelines and say, where are we getting stuck?
Yeah.
We're getting the activity, we're engaging with the people, we're getting we're setting demos, and then we're stuck at the demo.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're able to then look at a sales pipeline and a funnel if your CRM is properly set up.
Got it.
To then gauge this analysis and where do we go from here?
Got it.
And again, it's evolved tremendously in the last 10 years, as you know, and so it's a great tool. There's many good tools out there, and so we're everything we do, every call, every email, every voicemail we have, there's a notation.
That is not optional. Just so I'm clear, if I work for you as a sales rep, it is grounds for termination if I'm not logging my stuff in the CRM system.
Well, why would you? What grounds would you have to continue to have a job if you didn't demonstrate you were doing something?
Some sales reps, just to play devil's advocate, some sales reps will argue, I don't want to be micromanaged. I don't have the time to log everything. You want me on the phone making calls, not entering stuff in a CRM system. And
that's a fair question. And you know what? That may work in some places, not here.
Okay, and that was my point.
And here's the challenge. And I'm telling you, Jeff, we work for very large companies and very small companies, and most companies struggle with CRM.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, the people that struggle the most is outside sales reps.
Yeah.
They hate it. They don't understand it. It's too big. It's too clunky. So in many respects, as an inside sales company making outbound calls, it's your lifeblood.
Yeah.
It's our report card. We're able to go to our clients and say, this is what we've done. These are the calls, the voicemails, the emails, the demo set. And so it's mission critical for us. But companies really struggle.
Let's shift topics to compensation. Sales compensation is pretty tricky because you want to set up a compensation plan that drives the right behaviors. In your experience, what % of sales compensation should be fixed and what % should be variable? Is there an optimal mix that you have found?
Well, again, all sales jobs are not equal, and so they all have different roles and responsibilities. So I don't know that I've got a great answer for the question you're answering. I mean, it'd be great to have 50-50, right? Yeah. But that's not always the case. Now, here's the better question. The better question about comp, and I see people make huge mistakes in this all the time, is aligning the behavior and the results you're looking for with the role they have.
That's on the variable piece, right?
For example, correct. For example, we work for companies where we that have national sales teams that work out of their home, for example, and who are very bad at CRM. But no, not all. But our inside sales team goes and sets qualified appointments into large organizations.
Yeah.
Call it hospitals, right?
Yep.
Very difficult to get into. You need to really chip away and do that. There are organizations that want to compensate us based on sales. That's a mistake. We should be being compensated based on appointments set.
Because that's your job.
Right.
That's what you do.
That's our job.
Right.
It's their job to close deals.
Got it.
So we talk about aligning the roles that we have with the activities, with the comp. And again, people make that mistake all the time.
Are you a fan of compensation programs that are highly variable, like no base and 100% commission, or on the other end of the spectrum, all fixed, no variable? Or do you think regardless of the sales type, it's somewhere in the middle? It's got to be a blend of the two.
The more variable, the better. What people need to know as they're evolving and launching products, because we do launch a lot of products.
Yep.
There's a testing period,
Yep.
right? Everybody builds their technology and their tools in a vacuum, and they fall in love with them. The reality is, the rest of the world needs to judge.
Yeah.
Your customers need to judge. So what we recommend is, hey, let's take a 6-month trial. We're going to have some component of fixed because people,
They got to eat.
You got to eat, right? So there's a fixed component, and as we evolve and get more skilled and experience and data, we can then demonstrate what that variability is. So again, I think people forget is they forget that the world needs to judge their product.
So you might start, as an example, you might start 80% fixed, 20% variable, but once you've got some market data, some metrics on the sales funnel, the sales cycle, the average sale, you might be able to then shift that sales structure mix. Okay.
And we have to be transparent to our sales teams that this is an option.
Yeah.
But that they shouldn't see that as a threat. They should see that as an opportunity to make more money.
Got it.
Putting more skin in the game as we get it. But it's not fair for an outsourced sales company to be asked to take a bunch of risk because it's not we don't have equity in our companies. Right?
If I'm running an early stage company, either with sales outsourced model or in-house, how do I know when to add sales reps? What are the key things I'm looking for to say, okay, I've got something here, I've proven the product market fit, and I should go from 2 sales reps to 4 or 2 to 10 or whatever it might be? What leading indicators do I look for?
I think, again, a lot of this, Jeff, depends on your financing, right? A lot of smaller tech companies, they're trying to just get by, and they're trying to get by. So they have to start kind of small, and they're testing, and they're listening to their clients, and then as they're getting cash flow positive, you have to then put more fuel in the tank. Our larger companies that have more ability to throw money at this, they usually start bigger and have a more scientific approach to how their products are going to launch. So again, not a particularly scientific answer, but a lot of it's about how well you're funded, right? And because you learn a lot more with the more people you've got on work on your sales.
A question people frequently ask me is there a typical revenue per sales rep, a minimum number that you would say, okay, at least the person is paying for themselves? Have you found any kind of ratio or metric? I know it varies by sales cycle, but you frequently hear $1 million per sales rep. A lot of times that's for outside sales. Right. What have you found?
I haven't found anything that makes sense because when you talk about a technology company with margin that's substantial, once you build the product, right? So there's a lot of capital in building product, but once you get that recurring revenue cycle going, it can be really accretive and professional. Now, and it was right. So it's more of an industry type answer. So we can get 30% of the first year income and nothing at the backside.
Yeah, sure.
Versus you've got companies that are in the lead generation. They have to also be financing the growth of the business.
Got it. So the biggest thing,
we work for companies that sell financial tools, and it's a more you're dealing with a lot smaller margin.
So the biggest thing I've taken away from this discussion, Joe, is so many things vary from situation to situation. The sales cycle, the average sales size, the comp structure, the risk profile, the amount of training required. So while the answer sometimes is frustrating, I think, to entrepreneurs, it depends. The reality is using just platitudes that you hear, $1 million per sales rep, or fire them if they're not cutting it in 3 months or whatever, those are very dangerous rules because your sales cycle is likely to vary from other industries, other functions, other types of products. So you really need an insightful review before you make those, before you set up your sales system. Is that's my biggest takeaway.
That's 100% accurate. And any good sales consultant or a company like ours, we can get to the bottom line real quick.
Yeah.
But there's nothing that's really off the, there's very little that you could take off your bookshelf.
Yeah.
And put right and say this is the thing.
Don't go looking for a book expecting to find all the magic answers.
Right. And so we have models that we build for our clients. We say, okay, because most people have no clue.
Yeah.
And so we said, let's start with some assumptions, and then we just kind of refine it and tweak it. And it's a good, healthy process. But unfortunately, it's very customized.
Yeah. Okay. So if people want to get in touch with you just to go through that analysis, I'm guessing you do that before it, just to see if it even makes sense to work together or to help a prospective entrepreneur out. How do they get in touch with you, and where did they go from there?
Well, you can call me, or you can go. My email address is jpflanagan, FLANAGAN, at Acquirent, ACQUIRENT.com, or you can call me directly at 847-864-7400. That goes right to me.
Got it. So Acquirent is the website, like acquire and client merged together, right?
Right. And ACQUIRENT.
Fantastic. Joe, this was...
And we got a lot of videos and things that will help companies discover and explore some of this. But it is no question, Jeff, as you said, sales is a combination of art and science.
Yeah.
It's always evolved.
Well, you've been doing it a long time, so you still look great, and you're the master at this. So we really appreciate it, Joe. Thank you.
Hey, Jeff, have a great day. Thanks so much.
Thanks.